Welcome to our first episode of the Working Class Fishing Podcast Recast. I'm your host, Brian, and we are brought to you by Maxxon Outfitters, Lid Rig, Angry Rooster Fly Company, Troutlander Nets, and Morris Fly Co. Make sure you check out all of our sponsors out there. Make sure you also slide over to one of the listening platforms and check out our podcast and take a listen to some of these full-length episodes. So today, my very special guest, you can see him over here to one side or the other, is Mr. Willie Gray. Willie is the man behind Wanna Go Fishing. It's an awesome YouTube channel. You can find it right here. There's going to be a link in the description for this video. And we had Willie on last year as a guest, but we wanted to catch up with him. So Willie, thank you so much for being on with me.
Hey, thank you for asking. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot's been happening over the last year with what you're doing with your channel. One of the biggest things that you have going on right now is you have the Toyota, Mr. T.
I do have a Toyota. I will give you that.
Okay. You're doing a lot of stuff with the Monkey. So for people that don't know Willie, he's got a Honda Monkey. It's a small motorcycle. He does a lot of stuff with that. But we also have.
I'm glad you cleared that part up when you said with the Monkey. It's like, who even knew what you were talking about?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give something there to give an idea for, because I think that we have a lot of people that are like, how can I get to the fishing hole for less gas money right now?
Well, the Monkey is definitely, the Honda Monkey is definitely something that can get you there cheaper. Gallon and a half tank that goes roughly, if you're easy on it, you can go about 130 miles.
Wow.
So yeah, it's nice to pull up to that gas pump and, only spend $7 if possible. Instead of my larger vehicles and, putting $75 and $85 in them and even 100 in some aspects, filling them up. So, but yeah, the Honda Monkey, cool little machine. It's the mini moto craze, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, and you've also got a couple of other transportation gadgets. Your dad, if people go back and listen to the episode that we did with Willie, your dad was a mechanic, correct?
Well, yes. He was a mechanic because he had to be. He worked 40 years at the C&O Railroad. That was his primary job, but a lot of the automobiles in his time, he was not a rich man. We were not a rich family. So a lot of his, vehicles came from people's backyards, a lot like what I do. He might've gone to their house and did a little work for him. And then, back in the 60s and 70s and 50s and stuff, you could get a car out of a backyard for $25. It was a different world, different world back then. And so he would come home with a Rambler, or he'd come home with a Volkswagen Beetle, or wherever it may have been. And he paid a little bit for it. He'd sit there in the driveway and fix it and get it right. And that was his car. That's what he would drive. And always kept mom in the good stuff. Mom had something that was decent, but dad always had the things that the noises they made, you could sit it. You just go, okay, dad, what was that? Don't worry about that. That's fine. Okay. Nope.
So you would hear the ticka 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 in dad's car. Mom's car definitely not, but dad's car was.
Yeah. Not that mom's car was any newer. The first new car my mother ever got was still how do I say this? Secondhand, not secondhand really, but a factory defect, I guess you'd say. Her first new car was a '67 Ford Mustang.
Oh wow.
And the reason she got it was because it came in on a trailer with a bunch of other automobiles, and the car above it was leaking transmission fluid, and it had leaked on the roof and the trunk lid and messed the paint all up. So they were going to actually repaint the car. And my dad said, well, I'll tell you what, how much do you want for the car like it is? They got a considerable amount of money off of the car because of the paint being messed up. And that was my mom's first new car.
What I find so cool about that story and what you're doing is you're carrying on something that your dad did. And what that was like with Mr. T, and we'll talk about Mr. T because that's become a very large part of Wanna Go Fishing, because I think in addition to going to the flea market and picking up really cool stuff. And you're kind of like, well, it's the stuff I grew up with, and it's kind of minimal in your mind. But for a lot of people, they see like a Hedden combo or old Abu Mitchell combo or something like that, and they're like, wow, that is cool, that's vintage. But you're still going out to the backyard like Mr. T, if you want to elaborate a little bit on his story, because people need to go watch the video series that Willie has.
All right. Well, Mr. T is a 1990 Toyota four-wheel drive. I had known the owner of that truck. We worked together, and I've known him for almost 30 years. He bought the truck brand spanking new. It was him and his wife's first new vehicle, was that 1990 Toyota four-wheel drive. Through the years, it just, as most vehicles do through time, it became the take it to the dump, fill it full of leaves, take junk to the dump truck until it just sat in the backyard and basically became a yard ornament, a relic. I had been bugging him for years about buying that truck, and he finally called me one day and said, I'm ready to sell it, but it doesn't run. Okay, well, that's right up my alley. Doesn't run is right up my alley. It's a little bit, even though it's a 90 and it's 32 years old, it's a little bit outside of my realm just because it is in that time frame. We're still dealing with computer operated stuff. Lots of sensors and vacuum and computer operated things that I didn't really know a lot about. But I bought it. Went to his house in my older truck. Back then I had Booger, which was a 1968 C10. I had big plans for him too, but to do the things that I wanted to do, fishing, to take some dirt roads, maybe go out on a beach, some sand, whatever. 1968 two-wheel drive pickup wasn't gonna do that. Unfortunately, because I really loved that truck. But so anyway, I went and got Mr. T, drug him out of it. I call him Mr. T. Everybody's like, what, Mr. T? Okay, well, Mr. T Oda was what I named him. Yep. So we call him Mr. T. And I drug him out of my buddy's backyard, brought him home, started off with a new fuel pump, got him running. Many, many, many dollars later, we've gone through everything from shocks and tires and timing chain, water pump, oil pump, the fuel filters, fuel pump, everything that I can do to get him up to taking trips. And we're at that point now where he hadn't taken a long trip in probably 10 years. That truck had probably gone from my buddy's backyard to the dump, which was about a 3-mile drive. That was the extent of what that truck had done. And a few videos back, I went to Charlottesville, Virginia, which from where I live is about 200 miles. That was his test, basically, to see if I've done anything, if I fixed anything. And he made it. He made it up there and back. It did great. Just yesterday, I put another 170 miles on him. So he's doing okay. Not that he's perfect yet by any means. Still got some lifter tick and things like that I'm working on timing wise and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I drug him out of a backyard. That's kind of what Dad instilled in me. Mm-hmm. Now, I think if my dad could have walked right up here to the car lot and just threw down 10, 12, 15, $20,000 and bought a new vehicle, he probably would have. But we just weren't that family. We were old school. And it was Dad worked, Mom stayed home. And what his money came in and did was paid for clothes, food, the house payment, that kind of stuff. And Mom stayed home and took care of the family. So that's the world I grew up in. So yes, I worked on a lot of vehicles in my parents' driveway with my dad. Sometimes he would actually fall asleep underneath the car. He was tired. Drop a wrench, just to kind of wake him up.
Yeah.
Get going again. But that's where it all came from.
So Dad taught you how to fix mechanical things, which you combine into what your mom taught you, which was how to fish. And you said your mom was a prolific angler.
Oh, yeah, that was quite a combination. My mom was a woman of the mountains. She grew up in the mountains of Virginia. So that was bucketing water from a well to the house and catching fish and hunting. She had her own double barrel 12 gauge shotgun. so yeah, that she taught me how to fish. And basically in that time frame, it was just a bobber and a hook. That's really all it was. But that's all it took. That's what just grabbed me. I was like, man, this is fun. And then her side of the family, cousins and relatives, uncles, they took it from there and showed me lures, Meps and Heddon and all those old lures and stuff. And so I just never got away from it. I always enjoyed it. It was that thing that you could go do for a little bit of money, a little bit of nothing. Dig up some worms in the yard under a log and get your Zebco 33 and head out and go fish. So it didn't cost much to do then.
Yeah. So what I find to be so fascinating about what you do, and there again, you're kind of like, well, it's just what I've grown up doing, but a lot of people haven't. If you really think about it, we are a throwaway culture, is that you're taking something that somebody said, oh, this is junk, it's garbage, I'm throwing it away, fixing it and taking it out and showing that it has a plenty of life left in a lot of cases. Some of the cool stuff, I believe it was the Heddon 112 combo that you picked up. That one I think took a little bit more love than what you were expecting, but you did catch fish on it.
I did catch fish with it. They're not all created equal. That's the best way that I can. And that one looked brand spanking new. And I bought that from the flea market, and the gentleman behind the counter got it from not a grandparent, but it was a grandparent that told him he had bought it for a grandchild back in the 50s or 60s or whenever it was. And they went one time and it never saw the light of day again. And to me, that's depressing. And I know I'm not going into my hippie tree hugging whatever mode. To me, everything has a soul to it. And that sounds goofy, I know, but it was put here for a reason, and it wants to live that reason. And if it doesn't get the chance to, that kind of hurts my feelings a little bit. I just feel like it needs to be doing what it was meant to do. And unless it's completely trashed and has been used through the years, and just through the years in use, it's been trashed and there's just nothing to do about it. But if it can be brought back to life, why not? I use some of the Johnson Centuries.
Yeah.
I had these as a kid. They could be trifling, but as a kid, I really didn't know enough about them to know what to do to fix them, to make them work correctly. Now I do. And so that's why I go back and I find these old things, and I revamp them and I take them out and fish with them. I mean, I got a drawer loaded down over here with old reels and stuff that I'm going to mail to you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have my screen background. I see that you have quite a collection of rods over your left shoulder there.
Yes. I have quite a few back there.
You can't see my, I think my wife's going to choke me. I just picked up 3 offshore sturgeon fishing rods. I got a great deal on them, but now I got to put like $125 to $130 reels on these things. I mean, and that's looking at the lower end price. Sealed drag, 28-pound drag. When you're hauling barn doors and logs off the bottom, you got to kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I have found, now don't get me wrong, flea markets, yard sales, things like that. I go to these things and I walk through them. I've gotten some pretty expensive gear for a little bit of nothing from yard sales and flea markets and places, because the person selling it doesn't know what it is. They just found it, maybe went to a yard sale, picked it up themselves. Who knows, and they buy it. I bought pin. I've got a couple of classic pin reels, old ones. I mean, from the 70s and 60s, and then some up into 80s, whatever, that are high dollar reels. Now they want a lot of money for these things now. One of them I bought for $6. I think that's a 75. I think it's a 7500 SS.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a deal.
I bought that for $6. I brought it home. I cleaned it up in the sink, greased it, oiled it, and now I have this huge reel that I haven't used yet. nets because I don't do a lot of huge fishing. I don't do a lot of beach or off a boat or whatever, and I don't catch the size fish that you catch.
Yeah.
Now I have these things, but you couldn't pass them up because it was such a good deal. It'd just be silly to leave it.
Absolutely.
But I've found stuff like it, Daiwa Regals and Fluger Presidents and stuff like that I have found at yard sales and bought them for $5.
Definitely, for people that are on a budget, definitely check those yard sales, because there again, Willie's living proof that you can go to a flea market or a garage sale. Seriously, you can find some great stuff. Now,
you can do
it. I don't, you sent me the Abu Max, and I have, and I don't know if that was a new reel or if that was a used reel.
Well, that was brand new. That was brand new because I have a joke. My family has a joke about me always looking for the world's greatest onion rings. It's a joke that we've always had. I'm kind of that way with spin cast reels also. I'm always looking for really good budget friendly spin cast reel. That one was bought, the one that you have was bought after I had bought the new Abu-Matic 170, because they're still making the Abu-Matic 170, which is just crazy. So I had the old one. I wanted to try the new one. The new one was great. And then that Abu Max that you have, you know what? I'm going to give that a shot too. Just couldn't resist. And I went ahead and bought it. And I don't know what conversation you and I had. I don't remember. But anyway, I said, you know what? I'm sending it to you. I don't remember how that happened.
I think we were just, I said something about, I missed something about the spin caster and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I had always had really cheap ones. And you were like, well, here's one with a metal body, metal gears, and I'll tell you that reel on the rod I got like a little Shimano Scimitar. I actually used my Sportsman loyalty points to get the rod. So grand total, after you gave me that reel, I'm into it $12, right? I went out, I whacked like a 6.5 pound triploid trout on that thing. I thought either the line was going to break or the drag was going to give out, because I was out there. I don't even think I made a video of it, but it's got that hollow ring when the drag's peeling. I'm over there trying to increase the drag on this fish, and it's sitting there and it's got me getting jerked into the water. And I'm like, if I was to go after a steelhead with this, either the rod's going to break or something else, because I was going to spool it with braid. And I said, no, I'll keep it mono.
I don't know if those new spin casts can take braid. I don't know. I've never tried, but the biggest that I think I've gone to, even on my 170, I think I want to say I've got 8-pound trout magnet SOS on that, and I think that's about all I've done. I have not tried braid on any of the spin cast reels at all, so I don't know what it'll do.
Well, this is so much fun.
Oh, I know. It's a blast.
Man.
If it's too easy, to me, I said once before, if everything were easy, when something hard came along, you just stop.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the stuff I like using, it is a little bit harder to deal with. The old Johnson Centuries and the Abu-Matics and the Mitchell 300s and things like that. It's a little bit harder. Don't get me wrong, though. I like to indulge occasionally and buy something nice and new. And I love Daiwa. Buddy of mine, Tim Hahn, actually got me involved in Daiwa. He sent me a Daiwa Rev Rose.
Oh, wow.
And I used it. Next thing I know, I was buying a Regal, and I bought another Regal, other size Regal. And so don't get me wrong. I love new stuff, too. But I'm more into the old reels than I am the old rods. The old rods, they're not all that great. So they're extremely whippy, and I mean, you can cast the thing, it's going to come right back around and hit you in the face. It's like using a CB antenna. But I love the old reels. That's where I enjoy getting those out there and having a good time with those, because they don't age like a rod does.
Right.
Rod can age, and the next thing you know, you've got eyelets popping off, and rods broke in half. And I do have a couple of old rods over here, but they were in extremely good shape. Otherwise, the rod usually, if you watch the one I just did, the one you were just talking about, the head and 112 combo, that rod broke on the first fish.
Yeah. Well, I think it was the reel that came out of the reel seat, and you would tighten that screw down like it was max. You probably had 250 foot-pounds of torque on it, and it was still rattling around.
Yeah. I ended up having to change rods because it was actually a 2-piece rod, and
Okay.
the metal piece on the first piece of the rod that slipped in. Actually, when it bent over, it split the metal. So on the second, third cast after I caught that fish, I kept noticing that the rod was getting longer. Like, not right here. What's going on? And then I almost cast the top half of it off out. I caught it before it did it, and then I realized what had happened. It actually split that metal piece. So yes, if you like old reels, that's great. Fix them up, put them on a rod, but get you a more modern rod and take it out there, because the old rods, just, if you're doing it as a joke, just because it's a combo or something, and you, like I did, that's fine. But if you really want to enjoy the reel, get you a more updated, modern rod to put it on.
Absolutely. Well, Willie, we're coming up on our little time allotment here real quick. What's your future plans?
Now that I have a smaller, more economical vehicle to drive some distance, it's probably going to be more spring and summer. But the monkey's going in probably in back of the Toyota in Mr. T, and we got some camping adventures, places that I've already been writing down where I want to go and camp. It's probably just going to be me. The wife is not a tent camper. And be honest with you, my back isn't much for tent camping either. I'm still going to, we got places and things we want to do, things we want to go. So there's a lot now, because Mr. T is more oriented for going 4-wheel drive, trails, beach, that kind of stuff. Where before I was kind of, I had, you couldn't do that with a 68 Chevrolet, not a 2-wheel drive. But that's it. That's pretty much it, is to just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
People watch my channel and I know they go, man, you're a fishing channel, but I'm looking at a Honda Monkey, or I'm looking at you building a bicycle, or I'm looking at, when you watch me, you're watching my life. It's not just about fishing. It's there's more to life than fishing, but fishing is such a major part of my life. That's why the channel started. But there's a lot more out there to me. Guitars and bicycles and trucks and cars and stuff. There's a lot more to want to go fishing than just fishing.
Yeah. Well, I think there again, I believe John said it, I said it. We just love the genuine authenticity of what you do. That's what we love about it, because it's not a bunch of frill and flash and everything else. It's just, here's a guy that likes to fish and work on old rigs and go out and take a Sunday cruise on his motorcycle and go camp at the campground with his family. It's just one of those things. But when you're fishing, that's obviously what we're here to talk about, is that fishing part. But I think we just love having Willie be Willie. That's what we love.
It is. This is me. This is it. I've never been somebody to try to perpetrate someone else. I just am what I am. Not Popeye or anything. But I do what I do. I just do what I do, and that's it. I had a guy tell me the other day, I was talking about getting a drone. I said, man, drones are so cool. I'd love to have one. And they're like, yeah, but I don't know, man. If I saw drone footage on your channel, because I don't know if you'd be you anymore. And I just sat there for a minute. I didn't know how to take it. I was like, is that good or bad?
Yeah.
I want to progress. I want to do better and do some and have better stuff, but he's like, yeah, if I saw a drone footage on your thing, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So, I've typecast myself, Brian.
Yeah. I think that yes, you have, but at the same time, it's not a bad thing. And I think that, like I said, everybody that watches your channel, everybody that sees what you're doing, everybody loves seeing that Willie. We love it when you get the kids out and you're able to go fish with them, which I know one of your main editors is there with you today.
Yes.
But also it's just fun when you go down to Thousand Trails and camp and do that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to eat my custard and my oatmeal, and I'm going to watch YouTube. See, for the people watching, I haven't really missed any of Willie's videos over the last year, so I pretty much know what's going on. But this is probably the most real channel what you have of somebody's life that I've seen. And it's not dramatized. It's just like, oh, he busted his knuckles trying to get a bolt off, or
got the hook or lure hanging out on my phone.
Yeah, that was another one. Mr. T, the kayak, and the micro popper in your thumb. And then you got it numbed and you pulled it out yourself. So
I got tired of waiting on the nurse.
Yeah. See, this is why people need to go check out Willie's channel. There's a lot of great stuff on there. Go check it out. Go support Willie. Hit the subscribe button. His channel link is going to be in our description. So, Willie, we're going to wrap this thing up. Anything else you want to add?
I thank you. I really do. I appreciate you having me on. And I know that, like you just said, I am who I am. I'm at that typecast category, but I appreciate you having me here because I know you got some big people coming on, and I feel honored to be part of that.
Well, everybody, big, small, indifferent, we're all the same people. We all love the same thing. We love outside. We love fishing. But Willie, I can't thank you enough for taking some time this morning to come talk to me. I know my voice is all messed up, but I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's no problem, man. I thank you.
All right. So make sure, like, comment, subscribe, go over to Willie's channel and check his stuff out. All of the information is going to be down in the description for this video. And like always, we thank you so much for your continued support to our channel. Check out our podcast, check out our past episodes as well. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.